Hey guys, it's Miss Messer again. We're going to talk today about how to solve a quadratic equation by square rooting, okay? So what we did on Monday, the video that you watched and the practice that you did on Tuesday is going to help you with this, okay? So we're going to remind ourselves that a quadratic equation usually looks like this, okay? It's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, okay? So an example might be 3x squared plus 7x minus 2 equals 0, something like that, okay? Today, though, all of our problems are going to be missing this middle term, okay? There's going to be no x term. So all of our equations today are going to have an x squared and a constant, but no x. And that's how you know if you can solve by square rooting, okay? So I'm going to give you the steps and then we'll do some examples. So this is solve quadratics by square rooting. And your steps are pretty simple. You're going to isolate x squared, or we might say get x squared by itself on one side, okay? So I'll show you that. Once you get x squared by itself, you're going to take the square root of both sides of your equation. And then your third step is to write your answer as a plus minus statement. Okay, so plus or minus 5 square root of 2, something like that. Okay, so let's get started. Here's our first example for today. Number 1. It's a pretty simple one. I have x squared minus 49 equals 0. I want to remind you to take really good notes because the 5 problems we're going to do today will be 5 of the problems on your assignment tomorrow. And so you'll already have 5 done if you take really good notes today. Okay? On your assignment tomorrow, you're going to get out a blank sheet of paper, you're going to show your work, and you're going to figure out each answer and then type in your answer to the worksheet and submit it. Okay, I need just a second because my baby's crying. Okay, she is getting hungry, so I'm going to try and get through this video. I may have to pause a few more times, but we're going to try and get through this. So I'm going to follow the steps that I just gave you. All right, so my job is to isolate x squared, or to get x squared by itself. So I'm going to, instead of minus 49, I'm going to add 49 to both sides so that I can move that to the other side. So here it cancels. Negative 49 and positive 49 cancels. I'm left with x squared equals 49. Then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And the reason I do that is because if I have a number squared and then I have the square root of it, square and square root are inverse operations. It's just like addition cancels subtraction, and multiplication and division cancel each other out. Square and square root cancel each other out. So I'm just left with the x. And then square root of 49, if you look back to your list of perfect squares from Monday, from the first video this week, you'll notice that 49 is on there, and 49 is plus or minus 7. So positive 7 or negative 7, those are the two solutions for x for this quadratic. Quadratics usually have two solutions, okay? All right, let's look at another one on this page, and then we'll go to the next page. So our next one is going to be 5x squared minus 20 equals 0. So my job is to get x squared by itself. So first I'm going to move the 20 to the other side. So this is just like if you're solving and getting x by itself, okay? It's just that x is squared. So I'm going to get 5x squared equals 20. And then I want x squared by itself, so I'm going to divide by 5. So I get x squared equals 20 divided by 5 is 4. Okay, my next step, so that was all my first step. I was getting x squared by itself. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. It cancels on the left side, so I'm just left with x. And then I'm going to notice that 4 is one of my perfect squares. So the square root of 4 is 2, so my answer is plus or minus 2. So positive 2 and negative 2. if I was going to relate this to the graphing that I did last week, that means that the two places where this crosses the x-axis are at +2 and -2. And so those are my two solutions. Okay, it crosses the x-axis at +2 and -2. Okay. Again, this method only works if I'm missing that middle term. Okay, let's look at a couple more. So number 3, I have 2x squared minus 22 equals 28. Now I have a number on this side. Okay, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get x squared by itself. So I'm going to move everything away from the x squared to the other side of the equation. So I get 2x squared equals, and then 28 plus 22 is 50. Then when I divide by 2, I get x squared by itself, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. I'm going to notice that when I take the square root of 25 is one of my perfect squares on my list from Monday. So I get x equals plus or minus 5. Okay, they're not always going to work out perfect. We're going to get to one here in a minute that does not work out so perfectly. All right, let's do another example on this page. Oops. Okay, this one has a fraction in it. So I see 2/3 x squared equals 24. So I don't have anything to move that's being added or subtracted, but I do want to get rid of this fraction. Okay, and so what I can do is I can divide by 2/3, and your calculator will do that. You can do 24 divided by 2/3, and that will get x squared by itself. If I don't have a calculator that does fractions, what I can do is I can multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. So I know the 2's cancel and the 3's cancel, so I'm left with x squared. And then 24 times 3 halves. 24 times 3 divided by 2. Okay, so 24 times 3 is 72. And then I divide that by 2, and that's 36. So I'm going to get 36. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Remember, on the left, it's always going to cancel. I'm going to be left with x. And then again, 36 is one of my perfect squares. So I get plus or minus 6. All right, one more for today. This is our last one. Excuse me. All right, so this one I'm going to have 5x squared minus 15 equals 45. You'll notice I do not have a value with an x. I'm missing that middle term. I just have an x squared and a constant. So I'm going to add 15 so that I can get x squared by itself. I want to move everything to the other side of the equation. I'm left with 5x squared equals 60. Then I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides so that x squared is by itself. So I'm going to get x squared equals 12. Okay, take the square root. Is 12 in your list? Is that one of those perfect squares that was in our list? It's not. And so we're going to have to simplify this like we did on Monday. That's why we did that on Monday, to kind of review how to do that. Okay? So I'm going to try and rewrite this as 2 factors, and I want one of those factors at least to be a perfect square. And 12 doesn't have a lot of factors. It can be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. But I know 3 times 4, 4 is a perfect square, so that's how I'm going to write it. It's 4 times the square root of 3. Okay? I know that the square root of x squared is just x. So I know square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. Square root of 3 does not work out nicely, so I'm going to leave it square root of 3. So I get that the two solutions are positive 2 square root of 3 or negative 2 square root of 3. And I've solved my quadratic equation. Okay? Please let Mrs. Kellerman or I know if you have any questions. Your job today is to watch this video, to take notes, and to understand, to listen and understand. And then tomorrow, you're going to go through about 20 problems, and 5 of them are ones that I've done for you today already. So 5 should already be done. You can just type your answers in. The other ones, you need to grab a sheet of paper, show your work, and then type your answer on the worksheet and submit it. Okay, I hope you guys had a great week and that you have a great weekend this weekend, and we'll have more for you next week.